Hello, in this demonstration I will show you a method of embossing metal foil. Now I've got three examples here, which is aluminium, copper and pewter. So today we're going to just concentrate on the copper. Now this sample I've used a card former, and the card has been glued down onto a base. The card is about 1.5 millimeters, and I stuck it onto a base with Pritt stick to stop the inner shapes from moving about. So as you can see, it's quite a raised surface, and that's about as much as you can push it, really, about 1.5 millimeters. Right, so what tools did I use to create this? These I purchased, they're American, and this one has got a Teflon tip. It's very good, quite expensive. This one's got a kind of chrome tip, it's a kind of ball tip, and it's got a large end and a smaller end. But they're quite expensive, and you can only get these sort of things at really sort of very good quality suppliers. So I decided that it might be possible to try and make my own. So I had some brass strip that was in the workshop, and I made a handle for it in a kind of pencil design. I drilled a hole with a battery screwdriver and then cleaned off the edge with a file and some wet and dry, just to get a nice smooth round finish. So it took me a little while to make it, but it's certainly much cheaper than buying already made equipment. And really all this demonstration is really about how to do something as cheaply as possible. Another item I find very useful, especially for the copper, is a pastel stick. It's just paper, and it's probably one of the most useful tools when doing this. Right, so I've got a pre-prepared sample which we're going to have a go at doing, and it's an ampersand. So I've done an ampersand, but I've done it backwards, if you see what I mean. So when the object comes out, it is the right way round. So if you're doing letters, you've got to do it the wrong way round. So the negative is backwards, if you see what I mean. So I've got this copper foil, I've hinged it so I know it will locate back into the same place each time. And I'm using my finger to try and find the outline of, I don't know if you can see that, outline of the copper foil. Now by doing this, what you're doing is you're actually stretching the copper, and it will start to distort, especially around the larger parts of there. You can see it's beginning to crease up. So you've got to watch this a bit. So what's the sort of the theory of this? So I've got a piece of card here which I've done a drawing a line. So if we assume that the black line and the dip is the copper, so you're using these tools to actually push the copper into the former. Now what happens with that, it will start distorting the flatter areas, so you have to then turn it up the other way and actually work into the corners and along this part to flatten it out, to stop the distortion. So let's have a look at this. So as you can see, there's a crease forming there, so I'm going to use my pastel stick and actually try and work up to where the line is to try and get rid of the distortion. This is not a quick process, but the results are quite good. So but you have to work at it. So you have to work all the way back. Let's put that back. So now you can go back to the shape and just work the stick around, and it's just a gentle touch. You're not trying to force this, and you're trying to get an even amount all over the copper sheet. Let's try and work on that corner to get rid of that distortion. Now that's working quite well, but it does take quite a time. So when I get the shape more or less defined, you can then start to use the end of the ball to follow the crease, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're just trying to crease it and define that line a bit better. Then flip it back over, turn it round, and then work up to that shape. Now it may be that the pastel stick works quite well, and then working it all the way back to the edge to work out the distortion. Or like on this Teflon, it's got a nice flat edge, you can sort of push the metal back up to that crease. You don't have to necessarily make a former. You could actually do it freehand. So let's have a look at that. So I've got something freehand that I did, and I didn't have a shape or pattern. I just had a rough traced idea out. So what I did was use a soft foam mat, and I used the end of the stylus to go down these, make these kind of channels. And then when I've done the channels, I've worked the other side of the line. So it's this. So what I've done is used the stylus, pushed it down, and then turned the copper sheet over, and then worked up to the crease to sort of define the lines. And it is time consuming, but quite satisfying. So here again is another example of that, where I've drawn the design out, and I'm using, let's use this end, this end, it was correct. Use this end to make the design. You can push it in, and then flip it over onto this surface, onto a hard surface, and then work back up to the line. Okay, that's good. Now going back to the other method of using a former or a template, I got some lino rather than card, and I cut a design into it, which is a kind of English rose. So what I used is a Dremel, and this has got a special end that fits onto the end of the Dremel, which gives you a nice firm base. So the cutter is just a spiral, and it's just a flat-ended spiral, so it's just doing exactly the same job as a router would do. It does take a while, and the lino is quite soft, so it does clog up the spirals quite a bit, but that's okay. Just clean them out, and off you go again. So I hope this is there's something in here for you to take away. It's quite an enjoyable process. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. Until next time, Thank you.